David finds himself in front of a table with a small TV. An old VCR sits directly in front of it. A box with the Scepter imprint sits in front of him, holding 5 unsorted VHS tapes. David reaches for the first one. As he touches it, he feels a jolt of energy shoot up his arm. The tape feels like it's almost vibrating in his hand. I'm Nox, and this story is called Unsorted VHS. The label of the first tape reads, Mountain View Primary School. David can feel the title pointing to something in his memory, but it's almost like his mind can't quite reach it. A voice appears in his mind.
Play the tapes. Find out how you got here. Everything is interlinked. Don't you remember?
Sure, if I have a box of VHS tapes and a random voice in my mind telling me to play it, you can bet I won't be doing that and I will run out the door. David inserts the tape. The video starts in a school. The fire alarm blares through the TV speakers. The cameraman walks down the hall, peering into the classrooms but unable to see anything. Eventually, he finds an open locker with a note attached to it. It reads, Alice, do you want to go play at the cabins after school again? It's so fun. I just realized you don't poof to the cabins that are already open. This will change the game of tag forever. The tape ends moments later and automatically ejects itself as if powered by something paranormal. David places the tape back and grabs the next one, the same energy vibrating up his arm. The second label reads, The Looker. He slides it inside of the VCR. The cameraman is facing a lonely wooden house in what appears to be the middle of nowhere. Empty trees, completely void of any life, surround the house. All of its windows are boarded up and its entrances locked. The house is surrounded by fog, not allowing the camera to see very far. The cameraman looks to the sky. A large radio tower attached to the roof of the house pierces the clouds, pushing what appears to be large communication arrays deep into the atmosphere. The tape abruptly ends and ejects itself. David inserts the third tape, The Cabin Anomaly Investor Briefing. The video has an opening copyright presentation by the Scepter Foundation. David looks at the box containing the VHS tapes and notices it's the same font and logo. As he starts to recognize it, his mind becomes foggy again. The tape shows 5 identical small wooden cabins. The front of these cabins face the edges of a painted hexagon on the ground, the bottom edge having no corresponding cabin. The tape goes on to describe the anomaly as teleportation, the instantaneous travel between 2 locations without crossing the intervening space. It shows a man walk into one cabin and then walk out of the cabin beside it. It doesn't appear to be edited in any fashion. Next, the tape shows the unmarked location title, a branch of the cabin anomaly. The cabin at the bottom of the would-be hexagon appears to be missing. None of the other cabins can teleport to it. One source claims they have accessed it, but it has been revealed to be unreproducible. The scene cuts to where the 6th cabin should be. In its place are multiple wooden posts, likely the original foundation for the missing cabin. The next title slide refers to the symbol. An almost perfect shaped hexagon is in the center of the cabins. The material used to draw this symbol is nothing found on Earth. One part of the symbol points to the 6th cabin, further indicating its existence. The briefing concludes and the tape spits itself out. David grabs the 4th tape, Geometry, and inserts it. The TV shows a small facility, barely 10 foot by 10 foot. A proportional chain link fence surrounds the building. The cameraman looks up to see a large helicopter passing by. Inside the building is a computer, a broken disc on the desk in front of it. Insert disc flashes on the screen. Papers are scattered everywhere. The cameraman looks over to the filing cabinets and sees a man on the ground, clearly dead. The cameraman doesn't investigate the body long enough to reveal the cause of death or who he is. The cameraman frantically digs through the filing cabinets. There's a note in one of the drawers that refers to a variety of anomalies, such as the cabin anomaly and the looker, along with dedicated index numbers. The paper is dried with blood. He finds a disc that's not broken and inserts it. The computer doesn't do much and simply asks for an overwrite key. The cameraman pans the camera to his right and catches a glimpse of a shadow figure staring in the window. It's gone as fast as the cameraman catches it. The cameraman looks to a photograph on the desk and David recognizes the location. It's from the second tape, The Looker. A rock behind a tree near the house is circled. David ejects the tape manually this time and feels a strange calling for himself to look at the looker tape again. But first he decides to grab the final tape. Its label is stained red with what is clearly blood. The label reads, "The Cabin Anomaly." David watches the tape. The cameraman looks at a line of trees late at night, the stars of the sky barely illuminating anything. A pulse of red light pulses from the trees, and the tape ends. David watches this tape several times over, trying to see if he can see anything different. David sighs and resigns, unable to see anything new, and grabs the looker tape again. Upon inserting it, powered by some strange paranormal energy, the cameraman does something different than before. Rather than inspect the house, he walks straight to the spot in the photograph and grabs a key laying upon a rock. The camera goes around to the back of the house and unlocks the storage cellar with the new key. The cellar is illuminated with red lights. It's a long hallway, and David can almost feel the air. It's damp and muggy. As the cameraman walks down the hallway, a shadowy figure runs across the perpendicular hallway in front of him. Taking out a flashlight, the cameraman proceeds further inside with no sign of the figure from before. The camera arrives to what looks like a server room. Many server racks run along the walls with various data and networking cables. A singular computer sits in the middle. Blood decorates the computer and its keyboard in a grotesque fashion. On the screen is a sent email from Alfred to George. The email pleads with George to put the cabins on lockdown. Alfred claims he is hiding here from something. It includes a security access code, 4142. The camera looks at the pool of blood on the floor and follows the droplets to a broken hole in the wall. The cameraman shines his flashlight in the hole and sees nothing. Alfred, likely having been killed. The tape ends. David thinks for a moment. Once the cameraman looked at that photograph, a different tape changed. David grabs the geometry tape again, his gut wondering if something different will happen. The tape proceeds as normal, the small building, the helicopter, the body on the floor. But when the cameraman inserts the disc, without hesitation, he inputs the code he saw in the email. 4142. Lockdown reverted blinks on the screen. David swallows a lump in his throat. The fifth tape, the anomaly, calls for him. He can feel the air vibrating. He grabs the tape and inserts it. Rather than seeing a pulsing red glow, the cameraman is in front of a building. The lack of light pollution indicates that, like the others, this tape takes place in the middle of nowhere. The cameraman walks inside the building, the place a mess. Paper scattered, furniture toppled, the overhead lights buzz in archaic tone. While David looks around, he hears something shuffling in the darkness. He hears a door open that wasn't previously. Finding a key, David heads upstairs in the main room. David sees various notes on a whiteboard. Someone was working on solving a partial derivatives equation and trying to figure out possible cabin combinations. Details of the cabin are scrawled out further. A note on one of the desks indicates that financial backers have lost interest in the anomaly, and the writer suggests using the cabins to create a new method of transportation. It's signed Alfred, the same person who wrote the email, whose blood was likely found spilled at the looker. The cameraman moves over to the large window above the controls and hits a switch for the lights. The cabins that the tapes have teased relentlessly appear down below. The camera takes the elevator down. Before exiting the building outside, a list of guidelines on Scepter Manifest is detailed on the wall. It mentions a variety of rules, such as to always close the doors as to maintain the integrity of the anomaly. The cameraman exits outside, and sure enough, 5 identical cabins with an obvious missing 6th lay before him. The cameraman walks to the cabin labeled 1 and goes inside, closing the door behind him. David looks on, not even blinking. The cameraman exits the cabin at number 2. The video evidence suggests the cabins are real, and he actually hopped from 1 to 2. The cameraman proceeds to try every combination. Cabin 1 leads to 2. Every other cabin, including 2, leads back to 1. David notices the cameraman opening door 2, leaving it open, and then going into cabin 1. This caused him to be transported to cabin 3. Sure enough, opening doors caused the teleportation to bump to the next one instead. The note the first tape found in the school started to make sense. David's stomach twisted in a knot when he realized what the cameraman was doing next. "What is he doing?" he shouted out at the TV. He opened the doors of 2, 3, 4, and 5 in what he worried would be an attempt to force a teleportation to this mystery 6th cabin. Sure enough, the cameraman walked into cabin 1 and David choked on what happened next. When the door opened, the cabin was inside of a cave. The walls appeared to be made of wet and gray flesh, pulsing with life. The cameraman walked down and looked around. When he turned around, the cabin was gone, replaced by a small altar with a note on it. The text wasn't any language David had seen before. On the left of the note was the looker, the small house with the large tower above it. The link between the looker and the cabins was implicated, but not entirely clear what it was. David watches as darkness engulfs the screen, and the cameraman finds himself in a long hallway. The floor, the color of blood, with torches to guide his way. At the end of the path is a cabin, and potentially the cameraman's way home. Before he can reach it, however, the room blinks, and the cameraman finds himself surrounded by strange, red figures. In an instant, the camera's back outside the cabin circles, the lights off. David notices blood all over the building. The cameraman walks inside, revealing a man hanging from the ceiling by a variety of alien-looking tentacles and cables. The image on the TV reflects the camera's view in a paradoxical feed. A wave of memories wash over David, the fogginess of his brain evaporating. The tapes weren't simply tapes. He was rewatching his own memories, the tapes transforming their contents based on his new discoveries. David investigated the school when kids went missing after toying with the cabins. David broke into the looker and read the email Alfred sent to George to lock down the cabins. David went to the geometry, maybe even killed George, and disabled the lockdown. And then when David dabbled with the alien nature of the cabins, he found himself stuck in this realm. David's mind started to become fuzzy, the monster entanglement he was trapped in forcing him back into hallucinations. David blinks. Where was he? He sees VHS tapes before him. He grabs the first tape. Its build abnormally brittle, as if it had been watched thousands of times. He inserts the tape and watches as the cameraman walks down the school hallway. How did the 6th cabin go missing from its post? Was it always missing? Or did it get moved by some paranormal or alien entity? I also wonder how the looker and the cabins are related. The document by the 6th cabin shows a diagram connecting the top of the tower to the symbol with more lines extending below. The text on the document weren't anything I could read, and I couldn't find what particular font may have been used. Unfortunately, I couldn't find anything in the game that pointed to a connection between the two beyond these symbols. The briefing refers to the medium used to draw the symbol as extraterrestrial, but this is simply defined as not of Earth. Theoretically, the source could be aliens or paranormally from another dimension, but I'm getting paranormal vibes. I considered aliens at first mostly because I was thinking the looker could be the primary device for teleporting someone from cabin to cabin. That theory started to fall apart in my mind once I started asking why go through the trouble of coming to Earth as an alien to make cabins that just teleport you 30 feet to another one. Although I have one piece still keeping the alien theory alive, they could use the 6th cabin to transfer themselves to Earth if we assume cabin 6 teleports to cabin 1 like the rest. Then I considered paranormal because paranormality often needs less reasons for things to be and can defy the laws of physics more easily. My brain has been pointing to the paranormal side of theories, but I am curious, what do you think it is? The beings that are associated with these anomalies appear to be able to roam around our realm, given the state of the main facility and the signs of struggle in the looker. So where is David? Did these paranormal beings bring him back to the original facility after slaughtering everyone here? We see the blood everywhere inside and see peaks of shadow figures. Or is David still in this different realm where the 6th cabin took him? Perhaps the entity that stumbled upon created a fake world for him to sit in forever to watch the tapes. This is my current theory, especially since whatever it is that captured David is determined to make him watch tapes and relive his mistakes forever. That was a weird one, but if you like this story, you're going to want to go over here and watch this video I did on Buckshot Roulette that's by the same developer of Unsorted VHS. Thanks for watching.